Afternoon, guys. It's 1:25 in the West Coast time. It's still the 24th of April, 2024. Shout out to Artist in Recovery and shout out to Reverend Ed Trevors. I'll tag you guys up in this one here. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of pissed off people, I know. I'm trying to keep track of an accident that actually happened out here in the West Coast in LAX. Apparently, there was a plane crash, and I got up for an afternoon nap, started checking out that's what happens when I get a headache going on and muscle ache somewhere that I had to get rid of. So Tylenol and rest at that point. And yeah, I know there was going to be a hell of a lot of reaction concerning about the internet being under attack one way or another, if you want to call it that way. Artist, I wouldn't blame you. I don't blame you. I heard about this one weeks ago, months ago, that they were talking about this one, and it kind of got my attention on that. It did. Not exactly attack on the First Amendment, but even though it does feel like an attack on the First Amendment. But I kept trying to think about this. What was more of the reason why they prevented this in the first place? And I couldn't tell you. At least back then. Maybe my head needed to go on the rise in this one. We're always afraid of foreign interference concerning about our elections, concerning about our own ideas, and our own way of doing things. We were afraid of Russia using their influence, which they had been doing with a hell of a lot of bots, a hell of a lot of trolls, and going through the social media, creating all these, uh, using all these things to make us change our minds about one way or another. And they were also afraid of China doing the same thing. And when we found out that last year that, or was it year before that, TikTok was under the influence of potentially the Chinese Communist government there. Yeah, a lot of politicians were up in arms on this one, but they should have been also getting information from those who are using it. We don't want Chinese influence on TikTok. You're afraid. I know you are. So am I. And what they could do. Influence. We don't want any influence from foreign investments or any foreign actors into our own opinions. Problem is, we still got it. Indirectly, not directly. They don't want the direct. Indirectly, that's another thing altogether because we're talking about things happening in the Middle East right now. They're indirectly and directly affecting us here in the country, the United States, and elsewhere. They're affecting our actions everywhere. This is what's happening on that one. We're also afraid of the interference in our voting, uh, in the way we think about the candidates right now as it is. Yeah, both Trump and Biden are saying that they would sign it because they don't want any foreign interference. Problem is, I think Trump would pull out and still allow it anyway. He says he's friends with all those lunatics out there, and Biden says, no, I'm not friends with anybody. I don't want any interference. Period. Yes, it will bite us in the wallet, and yes, it will bite us otherwise. Facebook is still U.S. owned, and so is Instagram, which is still done by Meta. And YouTube is still done by Google, which is still under the U.S. influence. Those platforms we have no issues with. And you can be pissed off at Biden about all this one. But there's going to be a butt coming throwing at you guys. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to analyze. I'm letting my brain, while I was sleeping, trying to figure all this stuff out while I'm going through dreamland and trying to get rid of a damn nightmare that I've had over a decade and a half of seeing a tire dropping on my damn face and trying to kill me. creates PTSD symptoms. It also creates something that I still got whiplash from time to time. But it's still giving me enough time in my brain subconsciously to figure this stuff out. I am still going to support Biden. Hold your horses on this one, Art. Hold your horses on this one, Daryl. Come on. If it's a choice between two evils, I'm taking Biden. I'm taking Biden on this one. Yeah, I know he's interfering in people's businesses. What's he going to be looking at? Well, let's see. How well is he going to be influencing someone across the water? Going to be influencing your way of thinking about things, directly or indirectly? We already got it right now as it is. We've already been influenced by North Korea at this point over here. We've already been influenced by Russia too many damn times. And the Middle East is affecting us a great deal. So we're already polarized and divided like crazy. It's not exactly the bottom line you're looking at here, is it? I know, you're saying about freedom. Yeah, but we don't have absolute freedom. Think on this. Think on it. Okay, just hear me out. I'm a constitutionalist, okay? I support the United States Constitution. I also support people's freedom of religious viewpoints. I'm a pluralist on that point. And if they are going to be telling me something that's going to be totally ugly and nasty, and I'm going to be going crazy, I always throw this movie at them. The American President. Hear me out. You can Google this. You can put this on YouTube. The famous speech that Michael Jackson, or Michael Douglas actually, said in the last few minutes of this movie. And it's relevant. It's relevant. Because this is where democracy is getting tested at. It's not just freedom of speech. If we do have a major issue concerning about our own way of life, our own way of thinking, our own individuality being attacked by somebody else at this point over here, we have to know it. We have to understand it. We have to be calmed down. We have to be calmer to figure this one out. Are we still holding true to our own values? Or are we doing a knee-jerk reaction? My brother always kept telling me, God rest his soul and God bless his soul, that where's my faith in God? Or, in our case, we're both recovering in our higher power. Where's our faith? Where's our trust? We're supposed to feel it. We're supposed to listen. We're supposed to have an indication inside of ourselves that we only understand that some things are going beyond our control at this point over here. And this sucks. Yes, it does. This does. They've had hearings about this one last year. Well, we actually did have hearings about it. And probably the year before on this one. About social media being under attack by outside influences. I'm trying to put this into a historical without a hysterical viewpoint. We didn't want, when we created the Constitution, any foreign influence on our voting, on our thinking, and how our country is supposed to be run. We didn't want any foreign influence on our country, period. None. TikTok, wonderful as it is, has a potential because of the ultimate owners of TikTok, a foreign influence. I'm not saying it was right for Biden to do this. It was politically necessary. I know you're pissed. There's a lot of people out there pissed about this damn thing. I don't like it when our First Amendment rights get nailed left and right too. But consider the First Amendment is also protected under the Constitution of the United States. Only if we are going against a government decision and we have a right to protest, we can protest that. We can tell our government officials we don't like this decision. We can protest about it. There's also another thing. Screwed up as the United States Supreme Court is right now, do you think there is a strong possibility that somebody out there is going to put this through the Supreme Court? Go through the channels. It'll take months on this one. Or maybe less. To make it official that this law should be changed somehow. Now, I hate to say it, but if there's a chance that we got China screwing around with our damn votes, if we got Russia screwing around with our damn votes, we have to do something. We have to do something. I'm a constitutionalist. I don't like any foreign influence, but we got foreign influence all over the damn place. I'd rather have American divestiture in this thing. I'd rather have an American spending the billions to owning this thing to make sure that we are okay. We keep our channels. We keep doing it. That's wrong. I know. We'd rather keep it just the way it is. I know I'm going to be eating it on this one. I'm ready for the boomerang upside my head. I've said it before. If I'm going to be doing something and saying something, I know it's going to be coming right back at me because it's a boomerang. Everything is. Politically, it's a move. We're telling China, we don't want you influencing us one way or another. But the thing is, we got everything else influencing us right now. I had to look at the bigger picture at this point, not just TikTok. It's not just a social media platform. It's everything we got going on right now. Everything. Way too much for our brains to handle at this point over here. We much prefer going for the finite because we can handle and channel that, right? The stuff happening in the Middle East right now is still affecting us right now. We got universities shutting down because they get students over there protesting like crazy, and universities can't deal with it. So they have to go and shut down. They have to limit. My brain right now is making connections here, 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 and here. How things like interfering with each other or influencing each other. That's how my brain's working at this point. Screw the damn drugs. Drugs screw you over left and right. My brain's still working on this thing. Does it work? Does it not work? Always constantly testing it inside my head. Does this sound right? Does this not sound right? What's the correct path? What's the correct word? And none of it makes any logical sense. None. But concerning about TikTok, I know it's going to be an attack also on social media. But then again, I have to consider social media is private companies that we are contracted with. If we actually owned our own social media, if we actually owned our own platform, then we are in control of the thing, aren't we? But we put our faith and trust in companies that we use to get our messages out, including YouTube. This is nuts. I know it is. This is nuts. When isn't? When isn't it nuts? It's scaring the hell out of me sometimes. We think our First Amendment rights are getting attacked left and right. I'm going to bring this up again. And I'm going to read it to you. I know you probably have it, but... Okay, bringing it from Cornell Law School. Okay? www.law.cornell.education/constitution/First Amendment. First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free speech exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Which means if I gotta burr up my ass on this one, and I want to say something about it, the law, the federal government, the governments themselves, from the local to the federal, cannot say anything against it. But it does not guarantee about the private enterprise that we deal with. Because there had been SCOTUS rulings, there had been court cases left and right, making the companies more their own. We haven't had a Congress to lay it down, and we haven't had the SCOTUS lay it down, really, to say whether or not the companies are subject to congressional ruling or not. And somewhere in certain other cases I've been coming across, they've made the companies as a person, but not determining them as businesses that they can actually regulate and legislate. We've had that a long while ago, but then we got rid of deregulation back in the 80s. Reagan in his time. We did. Banking regulations, to other regulations for other places. Did we have any other kind of regulations out there governing our businesses, including telecommunications? The telecommunications we had back then were telephones. Hello? Hello, Ma Bell. Landlines. They're worried about the phone companies getting too damn big, so they brought down the bell and made baby bills. Now we got corporations trying to build it back up again. But we got no regulations or deregulations on that one now, do we? And that also affects our internet service, because we also use telecommunications through them as well. Hello, Ma Bell. Internet service. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. We haven't had a Congress yet to make any establishments. We haven't even had a SCOTUS to make the establishments. Whether or not these companies, these telecos, can be regulated. We don't have the legislation, and we don't even have the court cases necessary to back it up. We need the laws for this one to regulate. We need to have a working Congress to do that in the first place. The past 2 years, we have insanity going on. We hadn't had anything else to be passed. Now we're coming up an election year, coming up towards the end of it. We're not going to have that, because I won't allow it. We can be pissed off about it. We can scream our heads off on this one. We can even go out there and march on. We can march at our community places, community services, publicly owned property. Put up the signs like crazy. I'm still expecting lawsuits to go through the court systems right now. Somebody has got to be flowing court cases, maybe big fat ones. I'm still expecting a federal ruling next year on this one. It's not going to happen this year, dude. Don't count on it. There's nothing coming through the federal pipeline on this one. It took years for some of the other ones. The ones I'm worried about right now is the homelessness situation. SCOTUS has yet, at the time of this recording, make a ruling concerning about homelessness. It's going to be affecting your town, my town, every town. I'm not quite sure about Reverend Ed Trevor's town. He's outside of U.S. territory here. It's not going to be influencing Canada. Unless, of course, Rev, you've got Canadian influence happening here. And our laws are going to be affecting your laws some one way or another. Going to be affecting our homelessness. What's worse, and there's a rotten joke on this one here, Rev, is what happens if our homeless goes to Canada. Isn't that a scary thing to think about? Without passports? You know, it takes money to get passports. It takes time to get passports. But what happens if they got flown through into Canada and just dumped? Then you'd be sharing the same situation we would be in. Except maybe Canadian laws would be a lot easier or maybe a lot harder on the homeless. But this is what I'm worried about and facing out here in the States. I don't have an interest in TikTok at this point over here. I have an interest in concerning about freedom of speech, but then again, I have to weigh it. I have to weigh this in my head on this one. We can be pissed off about the whole situation. But if I'm looking at a political expediency situation where we're trying to protect our country and our government at this point, then we are going to be having pissed off people enough just to tip the balance of the scales here. And it's either going to be Kennedy going to be taking advantage of this, or Trump's going to be doing a mouth face, going to be doing a 180 on our ass. And yes, you still have the option of voting for Mickey Mouse if you wanted to. However, Eisner is not who I'm voting for, and neither is Iger. But as a loyal Democrat at this point over here, I'm still going to go for Biden because I am a libtard, and I have to understand about the national security implications at this point. And they suck, but if we get the divestiture going on, if China's willing to do this, China's going to be going on our ass big time in this one. I'm going to be doing another video. I'll follow up on this one.